the summer. Good to see you all. Thanks for joining us today. I've got some cards and things. We'll come back to this. I'll remind you at the end of the week 2 live draws with all their crazy tech issues, such as they are. But we're going to focus today on some paper, pencils, inking tools, and we'll create some new vistas, some new worlds that we've never seen before. Do you remember back, if you were with us before Comics Camp, I live doodled this little page on Facebook, and we talked around all the different characters we might meet this summer. I'm the rabbit, of course, and then I have some other rabbit friends and some stick figure friends, and I got into drawing eyeballs over here. There's a fancy armored eyeball. We'll work up to that. These are basic eyeballs around here on the table. And this week, we're going to focus on eyeballs and stick figures. Stick figures are actually closely related to eyeballs, of course. Here's a very simple stick figure. They're all built with dots, lines, circles, things like that. So we're going to have some fun today and surprise ourselves with some eyeball landscapes. I don't know exactly what's going to happen when you and I start drawing here. So we'll just clear our inking tools and get our pencils ready. You know what? I'm going to flip my page over and we'll do a couple practice pieces here. So remember our pie process. We're going to use that today. Oh, this looks more like a cupcake, doesn't it? But we have pencils, then we'll come back and ink our artwork, then we'll erase all the pencil lines, right? So we'll come back to that and we'll use that process throughout the summer. This is the way we get our ideas down in pencil, which we can erase and adjust. And then we will come back and ink our ideas with ink. And just to show you what that looks like, if I ink this letter I, look how much more easily you can read it there. It jumps off the page. It's easy to read. So we'll be doing that all summer. And then, of course, once I've inked a letter, I may find there are some pencil lines left over there. So I can go in and erase those pencil lines and clean it up. Now, a little word about what we're doing in these live draws. We're going to have people joining us throughout the summer who might be coming to Comics Camp for the first time. So I'm always going to start from a pretty basic level, and then I'll give you some extensions that you can do above and beyond what we do in this one live draw. Today is a good example of that. So to start at a very basic level, let's draw an eyeball. I'm just going to put a circle on here. We're on the back of our paper, just practicing. I'm penciling a little dark so you can see it easily. Simplest eyeball I know how to make is that circle with a spot in it. And if you draw 2 of those, they tend to look back at you. I'm going to draw a second one that's a little fancier just for comparison. Notice how this isn't a perfect circle. It's not exactly like that one. And then we talked about this last week. If I do a nice big black pupil in the center, but I leave a little white circle in that black pupil, ooh, I get this nice gleam off. It's like the light is gleaming off that eye and it's looking right at me. And then today we're going to use, well, you can get as fancy as you want. I'll show you another fancy eyeball I like to do. When you really want to impress people, you do one circle inside the eyeball and a circle inside that. Now that inner circle we'll color in black. Let's leave the gleam in that. See that? And then if you're coloring in the eyeballs, you can color that brown, blue, green, red, any color you want. And that becomes the iris of the eye. I like to put little lines going all around, coming out from the center. And that gives a nice texture. That's a fancy eye. Of course, you may also have eyes like cat's eyes. Let's put just like a V right there. And then I'll put that white spot at the top of the V, color in the rest. And you'll have a nice slitted cat's eye. Maybe the V should be a little farther open. And there's all sorts of other eyeballs that we can draw here. What I want to do today is use our imagination with these eyeballs and actually bring them to life outside of the context of faces, right? We talked about faces last week and we just filled the page with smiling faces, and then we started changing them a little by like giving them circle eyes and all those different details. Remember those faces we drew? Go back to week 1, day 1, and you'll see a page full of those faces. So we're going to draw these eyes outside of faces, independent from faces. And what happens is they still keep that gleam, they still keep that dot, but they actually grow little legs so they can stand on their own. See that? And little feet help them. and then they can walk. Let's make this one walk. So let's see, before I do that pupil, let's just put one foot out this way, pointing that way, and the other leg will go the other direction, and we'll put the foot pointing the same direction. And see how that sort of looks like it's stalking off, but that looks kind of stiff-legged, doesn't it? Let's put the pupil in. Now, if I put the pupil in here, it's like it's walking past us, looking right at us. I actually kind of want to put the pupil to the side. See what that does? It like turns the eye, so the eye is going in this direction. And then I like to put a little shadow under it. That kind of shows where the ground is, shows it's moving. It's like the shadow under my hand, right? You see that shadow under my hand. The farther I get from the ground, the farther the shadow gets from my hand. It's a little hard to see with this camera angle. Let's see. Let's try another eye, just like that, walking in the same direction. Let's try this, though. I'm going to curve the knee down a little bit. And if you try this, you try walking, you'll find your knee curves back from the direction you're walking. So this leg, it's not going to go like that. That would look like the eyeball's hopping. I'll curve it the other way, that is back away from the direction the eyeball is walking. And then I'll put a foot on the end of that one. That looks a little more comfortable to me, right? That eyeball is kind of jogging, trotting along. Maybe if the feet don't touch the ground, by the way, it really looks like it's moving. I'll put a nice big pupil on this one, nice big white spot. Let's see if we can get an eyeball really running fast. Let's see. Going over here towards the edge of the page. I'll put the pupil over here because as it's running fast, it's going to be looking in this direction. My eyeball kind of elongated, didn't it? It kind of squished down to get longer in the direction it's running. Let me bring the front leg up even higher. And the back leg, let's bring the back leg all the way around. This seems kind of silly, right? Like if you run fast enough, are you going to kick yourself in the back of the head? Well, this eyeball will, if it's really running fast. And then we'll put the shadow way down here. Ooh, I like that. The farther the eyeball is from the shadow, the more its legs kind of move, the more energy it has. You can even put little dust clouds behind it. Zoom, maybe little motion lines. How about behind it? Those motion lines in front of it might confuse things a little at this point. There we go. So now we've gone from standing to stiff-legged walking to more comfortable walking to really running. Another level of eyeball that we might want to try before we flip this page over and really start our picture. These are just doodles to practice. We'll put those arms on. And if you want a fancy eyeball, try bringing some limbs down from here. And if those don't quite look like arms for you, maybe add 3 or 4 fingers on each. I'm a cartoonist. I kind of like just the 3 fingers. And then, of course, if one of those, let's draw that again. We'll pose it a little. If one arm, maybe this one comes up a little, let's bring this one all the way up and put that hand on it. See that eyeball waving at us? Or waving, you know what? What if we move that pupil and we put the pupil over here? Suddenly that eyeball is waving at this other eyeball. Maybe I can turn that eyeball just by moving the pupil. This is what I love about little characters that are eyeballs. They have very limited expression, but just by moving that pupil around, you kind of change their whole orientation, what they're doing, what it means, how they're interacting. Now, I think that's all we need to start with the basics. I mean, we could go on for hours here adding fancy hats to these eyeballs, and adding, I don't know, like funny dresses, funny hats, maybe like headbands, right? Sweatbands. Maybe they could carry different things. Like this eyeball might have pencil and paper, so it could draw cartoons and things. There's all sorts of stuff we could add to these eyeballs, and let's try that in context. All right, so we're going to pencil ink erase. We'll see how far we get. Let's focus on penciling to start. Ready to go? Let's flip that page over. All right, now we've all practiced some eyeballs. What I want to do first here, I have sort of an ulterior goal. We're going to create a story this week, but we'll just start with a single picture here. So on this page, remember last week I mentioned how we want to stay away from the edges. I'm going to draw, you don't have to do this, but if you want to, you can draw just a light pencil line around the edges of this page, just to remind yourself, don't draw right up to the edge. I did this with a ruler last week. I was a little more formal about it, but today we're going to use this as just one big picture. If you want to have that reminder around the edge for your margins, you can do that. All right. So this is 8.5 by 11 paper, by the way. I recommend just having a ream of it, or as much as you have around. If you are recycling paper, that's fine. It doesn't have to be very fancy. Whatever paper you have. And I have links on my site to tools that you can use. That's on merrickbennett.com. And /comics camp will get you to the comics camp info, and there's a whole before page that'll walk you through the tools to use. All right, so on this page, we're going to put 2 lines that'll be like the ground of this page. So first, let's keep the first one down fairly low, and you can give it sort of a hill and a low point, wherever you want. It can sort of wander a little through the bottom part of your page. Ooh, that looks nice already. It's already a little landscape that I can explore. And then let's put another line through the top of the page. This is going to be another level in the distance of your landscape. I'm actually going to tuck mine down here behind this hill and bring it up from there. You can kind of improvise this as you go. Ooh, I like that distance. Doesn't that make the land look deeper somehow, just by putting 2 lines together? If this one continues over here, that looks kind of cool. It's like there's a hidden valley in there. Like if I climb up on this hill and look down in, I might see something surprising. We'll keep this landscape fairly flat for now. And then over on this side, over on my right side, you can choose either side, left or right, but let's stay away from the center just for now. Over on the left or the right side, let's put a single eyeball and make it sort of small to medium size. We don't want it too huge just yet, because we're going to put a lot of different eyeballs in here. I'm going to wrap my feet to the landscape there. You can do this all sorts of ways, but I'll just sort of make the feet go along the landscape. Now this is going to be my first eyeball in this landscape. And let's have it be doing something you love, like a sport. It could be carrying pencil and paper, like we just drew a cartoonist eyeball. It could be doing any kind of pastime that you like to do. Let's see, I have an idea for this one. I'm going to give it, for some reason on these hot early summer days, I keep thinking it would be so nice to have a little business. I'll give it a wheel here. We'll give it a box. We'll give a pole going up, and then we'll put a curve like this and an umbrella across there. Actually, I can make it a fancy umbrella with bumpy trim. There we go. And then you know where I'm going with this. If you've seen some of my other comics, I think this is a really fun summertime business opportunity here. And the days are hot. We'll put a little blob and a little cone, and maybe we'll put cross-hatching on that cone, and maybe a little drip there, just to show that this is melting. Now, if this eyeball is running an ice cream cart, oh, that's good. Oh, that's clever. Let's write that up in the umbrella here. Ice cream. Oh, it won't fit, but that's okay. That's not, whoops, that's the A. There we go. That's a minor detail. The reader might not even see that. I need something to make this. Oh, I know. This eyeball is going to be holding a spoon. Let's see if we can make it an ice cream scoop. We'll put a handle on there. We'll put maybe a circle. Maybe we'll make that circle come out to one side. And maybe we'll make it drip a little. Now that's good. If this eyeball is serving ice cream, let's see, we're going to need customers. Like I said, we're going to stay away from the center for now. So maybe I'll put a customer over here. Now a customer, of course, is going to be nothing more than another eyeball. Maybe we'll make this eyeball, remember, if we move the pupil over to this side, and maybe this eyeball, I'm going to make this eyeball's legs a little crouching, because this eyeball is totally excited to get ice cream or it could be walking. The cool thing about doing these eyeballs without arms is you don't have to worry about where the arms are. The reader, I mean, if you see this eyeball holding an ice cream scoop, you see it. The reader isn't going to question that. So let's see. I'm going to give this one an upside down cone, just right next to it there, and then sort of a blob with dots there. You can change these details. You're probably not doing ice cream anyways. If you want to draw along, you're welcome to do ice cream. If you have another action that this first eyeball can be doing, you're welcome to do that. All right, upside down triangle, little blob with dots. And if you now see this as one eyeball selling another eyeball or serving another eyeball ice cream, then you're in my cartooning world. You believe it, right? It can be as simple as that. How did they get here climbing over these hills? This is interesting. I could draw a road or something. Let's populate this landscape first, and we'll introduce a few more eyeball types because these are very plain eyeballs. This is a very plain ice cream loving eyeball. So let's give it a little heart there. It's happy to have its ice cream cone. And this one, if we want this one to seem a little more official, maybe we'll give it a hat. Let's give it a brim, just like that. And then how about a little box on top of that, one side of that brim? Maybe I'll put the little heart on that box. There we go. That looks like maybe I'll put the little heart here. This is happy ice cream lover ice cream that this eyeball can sell. Now this one having this sort of official looking hat and the scoop and the same insignia as the stand, that's good. That ties them together. All right, I'm starting to get a sense of how these eyeballs work here. So what was the next kind of eyeball? There are several kinds of eyeballs we could draw. I noticed there's a lot of room up here in the sky. And once word gets out that good eyeball lover ice cream is going to be sold here, then you'll get eyeballs coming from all over the place. Let's try over here. We'll put just another regular eyeball, but let's make this one walking, and it's looking for that ice cream. So we'll put a pupil on here, and maybe it's running. Remember we made it running the other side of the page? We're going to bring that back leg up because it's kicking its heels up. And then we'll have to put a little shadow under it on the ground. And maybe this is a great place for a couple dust clouds. Oh, that's cute. And the dust clouds, my dust clouds, I like to get smaller as they go because that sort of looks like it's coming from the distance. And maybe we'll put a couple sweat beads coming off of it because it looks like this landscape is pretty hot and sunny. Doesn't that shadow kind of turn up the temperature a little bit? All right, let's see here. Now we're starting to get a story because we're out here in this unpopulated desert. One eyeball's selling ice cream. The other eyeball is loving it, and one's coming running. Let me just adjust my camera for a sec. That's better. All right, now let's see here. You know, there are other kinds of eyeballs, other ways for eyeballs to get around. Sometimes they get tired from running. And so let's put one up here in the sky up above. We'll do another circle. We always start with the circle. And we'll put a pupil to this side, which makes it facing to that side. See how that pupil's pointing zoop right down to the ice cream here? And now these legs, let me get my hand out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. These legs both curve back. And you may wonder how that eyeball got up in the sky like that, right? This is the first flying eyeball that we've drawn. We'll give it a little pull to the top, just a little stick like that. And then we'll do a number 8 around that pole on its side, or an infinity sign. See that? We went around, then came and went around the other way. And you can give 2 little motion lines to either side. And you can see what that is probably. That's a helicopter eyeball. Maybe we'll put some motion lines going back as it flies along here. If those look a little too much like heat lines or radiation or something, we could try maybe a curly Q line. Ooh, I like that. It's like the eyeballs flying through the air, sort of looping and going up and down. So this one's running. This one's flying. We've got some room in here. Oh, I know what's next. We'll do one. I don't know exactly where your lines are. Choose a place up above or down below the line. This one is going to be a spring foot eyeball. So let's see. I'll do it a little above the ground. Its legs won't reach the ground. We'll put a pupil there. Boy, this is getting to be quite a crowd running for this ice cream here. And we'll put, just like the helicopter eyeball, we'll put both feet going back, but there's no helicopter on this one. It's called a spring foot because coming off of each foot, we'll do that curlicue. That's kind of the same line as I tried here to get the helicopter flying. Now here, if you see that as the flying path, here, hopefully, when we put it on both feet, you'll see that it's springing. And let's put a little shadow under it, maybe down off the line of the land there a little bit. That's kind of cool. Let's do another one up even higher. There's that. Oh, that one's really springing. And then we'll kick the legs back. There we go. Now this could be a helicopter or it could be springing, or maybe it's both. Let's try doing both. I'm going to give this one a wider helicopter blade. So I'm going to stretch that 8 out to one side, stretch that 8 out to one side. Ooh, that one could really fly. I'll give it those motion lines again. And then I'll give it a couple springs. That is a helicopter spring foot. That's a very rare one. They can really jump and really go pretty far through the sky with those wide helicopter choppers too. Now let's see, there's other kinds of eyeballs. Like, let's see, how about up here on the hill? If you did a hill up above, let's put a hill up here. And on this one, we'll start with our standard. Let's put this one also looking down at the ice cream cart. This one is actually going to be, you can probably tell what this one is once I draw the legs. I'll put one leg down and one leg up. No, not clear what that one is. Then what if I do, let's see, I'll do a tutu on it. So I'll do sort of a curvy line, and then I'll just do a top line and a bottom line. Let me do that right here in a more simple style. Do another eyeball. They usually go in pairs. And I do this curlicue line, so it goes out to either side. And then I do like a top line and a bottom line. See how that looks like a ruffled tutu? Actually, it looks like a toothy mouth, doesn't it? We'll work on that one. And there they go. They are, you usually want to put some ribbons or ruffles on top. Those are ballerina eyeballs, and they go dancing across the ridges, they go dancing across the lowlands, and they work up such an appetite. They tend to eat a lot of ice cream. So they're going to be really happy to see this ice cream cart out in this mountainous area. Let's see. You know what? As they dance, let's try changing their expression a little bit. Eyeballs actually have wonderful expressions. If you give that, instead of a pupil, sort of a smile, doesn't that look like the eye closed and this eyeball is just deep in its dance? Maybe I'll make that one, I'm going to make that one flying through the air. So I'm going to actually move my hill so that that one can be flying through the air. Let's see. Move this hill down, and this one can be perched on top. There we go. Remember, we have to put a little shadow under it. A little shadow under it. If that leg doesn't look quite right, that's why we're penciling. And curve it around, put it up. So they're dancing up on the hillside. Now let's see, there's a couple other, you know what, we're going to have to get into some kind of scary eyeballs here, because these are all friendly eyeballs, all coming to look for ice cream. But if there's ice cream out in the land, like out in the landscape like this, it's probably going to attract some other ones. So let me show you a couple of the sort of monster eyeballs here. So let's put a nice big circle somewhere up on this hill. We'll give it a nice big pupil. Keep that white gleam pretty large there. Now we're going to give this one, actually, we're going to give this one 2 fangs. This is a monster one. We'll make its legs kind of straddling the land here. And then we'll give it arms that go out and down. That looks a little scary, doesn't it? Out and down. And then we'll give it, let's see, we'll give it claws. Let's give it sort of crab claws. Just a V on the end of each arm. All of these, in fact, I learned to draw from my niece and nephew, who are 5 years old and 8 years old, and from my brother, who's their dad, who's been drawing with them. I'm sort of learning all these from them, and hopefully we'll have them on Comics Camp this week to show us some other types. These are the basic eyeball types. If you want this one to look really kind of monstery, you can put a V over that eye. See how that turns it into like it's got like an eyebrow on it. And if you want it to be, well, there's lots of things you can do. You can curl that V, or you can make it have horns, or whatever this needs. This is called the strong eyeball or the monster eyeball. So this one's probably going to creep over the hill and try to get some ice cream by hook or by crook. Let's see, what else do we have? Maybe crawling down this side of the hill, we can do my favorite to draw. Put a nice big eyeball here. And maybe this one, you can decide if you want it looking towards the ice cream. You put the pupil on that side facing the ice cream or whatever it is you're drawing as the focus here. If you want it looking towards another eyeball, you can draw it looking at any one of these, because what this one is going to be a special one. It's going to have 8 legs coming off of it, 4 on either side. And the fun part is you get to sort of draw them going any which way. Maybe they grab the hill there. Maybe one reaches out and one's reaching out like this. And then make sure it has 2 fangs underneath. That's a tarantula spider eyeball. Let's give that one another V eyebrow, because this one I think is hunting. It's probably aware that there's ice cream down here, but it's also hoping to spin a web or jump and catch one of these eyeballs and, I don't know, make it give it its ice cream. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Oh, there's also, I have this big space in here. I'm going to show you the largest eyeball. Again, one that I learned from my niece and nephew, the way they draw eyeballs. So this one doesn't even start with an eyeball. This is our first one that doesn't start with an eyeball. We're going to give ourselves a bumpy line, sort of like a long a double W, 3 or 4 bumps. Give ourselves another one below it. And then somewhere back here, we'll put a little tiny eyeball looking towards that ice cream. Now, this is about to become one of the largest, most dangerous creatures to inhabit the eyeball desert here. Let's see. If I bring this side down and curve it around so that it meets those teeth, and I bring this side around and under so it meets the teeth on the other side, and I bring a line down, ooh, now you see the outlines of this creature. We'll give it 2 legs, just like before. We'll curve that knee down and curve that knee back. And let's give this one a nice big shadow, shall we? Because this one is one of the largest creatures out here. If you want, you can give it a tongue. And that tongue could have a claw on the end. It could have forks on the end. It could have spoons on the end. I don't know. Spoons would probably be better running to get some ice cream like this. This is a chomper. And the chomper can be very dangerous unless you keep it well fed. And that might be why we have this ice cream card out here. Now, let's see. There was another one I was going to add in. Oh, yes. Probably the most dangerous of all the eyeball monsters out here. And this one, we're going to actually, somewhere under our ground or up in your hill, let's carve out a little cave. And that's very simple to do. You just create a little mouth like that. And then you can open up a cavern as big as you want underneath. See how that makes a little cave underneath? And you can shade it or do any kinds of details you want. You can shade the top if you want you can do spider webs and stalagmites and stalactites if you want. You could riddle this hill with caves and add creatures in here. I think this cave is going to be the den of a very sneaky, very silly actually, but much feared creature of the eyeball desert. We'll do an eyeball. Maybe this one will be looking towards the mouth of the cave, thinking of coming out. And then we're going to give it a pointy hat with a pom-pom and a big wig that goes off to either side, and then fairly long legs. This is the clown eyeball. The feared desert clown eyeball. Let's do another because they tend to work in teams. Let's see. Put another dot. They are thinking. Actually, no, they can be conferring. Let's move this. I'm going to move this pupil over. There we go. Now, when they work in teams, they tend to have different style hats, different style wigs. So maybe this one I'll do like a crazy wig and stripes on the hat. Maybe for this one, polka dots on the hat and rainbow wig. Okay. Maybe this one has curly-toed shoes. And they tend to have lots of little juggling balls and bowling pins and things like that ready to go. So these ones are well provisioned here. We'll do like stacks of juggling balls and they are ready to go. They can jump out and save anybody from the chomper. They can jump out and sometimes they have a plan to get the ice cream and so on. Now we're getting quite an ecosystem of characters flying around here. If you want to add a sun up here, you can. If you want to add another flying eyeball monster, I'll let you fill in all these details here and see who populates your eyeball desert. These are a few of the characters we've been drawing here. I'm going to post some how-tos, and I'm also going to ink this. Let's start inking it, actually. When you're ready, you can come in here. I like to start wherever I started the picture. So I'll start with my first character. And remember, inking just looks like tracing over your pencil lines, but you might make some changes. I might decide, oh, I want that brim to be a little longer. If I decide I really want to change something, I might go back and erase it and pencil it again. I like this one little drip off the spoon there. And that's all inking looks like. I think what I'm going to do this week, we're not doing daily live draws because we have a lot of different events coming up. So I'm getting ready for those. What I may do this week is I'll do all my inking through those Facebook Lives like we did last week. And if you can catch it, great. If not, I'll post a link to the video. But I think inking actually works really well. Number one, for hanging out and inking together. Number two, for like sped up video, because you can see the picture come together that way. So what I'll do is I'll give you some time to pencil. Oh, I have to show you the next step of this, but I'll give you time to pencil, finish up your picture, get it all the way you want. Maybe you want some trees or other landscape elements in here in the setting. Then we could get together. I'll plan to maybe tonight or tomorrow, I'll go on. If you follow my Facebook page, where's my card for that? Here it is. If you follow my Facebook page, if you're on Facebook, then you'll see when I'm on live and you'll see when I'm inking. I can't commit to anything right now, but we do have scheduled live draws. So we'll definitely meet up for those. So we can ink these together if we're lucky enough to have our paths cross. And then the next step. Okay, so I have to show you the next step. So this week I'm thinking, I'll give you a choice of what to do. We can take this. What we've done is we've set up a very interesting story here with lots of characters. One or two of them are going to speak to you, and you can take those characters and draw a story with them. Now, the next step might be, you could lay a piece of paper over this. See how I can still see those landlines there? I could trace those and show these characters moving around or other characters coming in. Or I could take this other page and I can line it up just like this and continue these lines along here and then have my characters kind of roll into the next part so that by the end of the week, we'll have 1, 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 pieces of paper that tell a story where some of these characters do something together. In my case, it's going to be based around this ice cream cart. I posted on the Comics Camp Clubhouse, I posted some amazing paintings by a 1800s painter named Thomas Cole, where he did that same approach. He painted a landscape and showed it, and then he painted the same landscape again just hundreds of years later and showed how it changed, how it grew, what happened on that landscape. You can check that out in the Clubhouse. I'll post a link in Patreon too. And that's my idea with these eyeballs. We'll just sort of play with them, let them run around on the page. And if you end up with a long landscape, several pages long, that's great. If you end up with a couple pages that you can read in order, that's great. And by the end of the week, I'll show you how I make little books out of these ideas. Oh boy, I don't want to stop inking now once I get these wonderful characters on here. So thanks to my niece and nephew and my brother for all their eyeball artistry and teaching me how to draw these things. And now I'm teaching you how to draw them. And we'll create some different eyeballs this week. I'm looking forward to seeing what kinds of eyeballs you discover as you draw, because you're going to discover eyeballs that I'm sure I've never thought of. There's all sorts, there's an infinite number of different eyeballs out there. Actually, let me show you something that we have going out this week. Before we finish here, I want to show you this. So this is all part of Comics Camp, right? And if you're with us in Comics Camp and you're on the Patreon, great. You see all the posts then. If you're not on the Patreon, feel free to head over there and you can join for $1 a month and you'll get all the emails. We're going to have some people joining us from a bunch of camps over the coming weeks. I'll make an announcement about that. I'm really excited to have lots of camp families coming in and using these videos and drawing with us. So one of the things I'm sending out to people on the Patreon is little welcome packets. And they look like this. I made a little flyer that has my Comics Camp Clubhouse and it has my join us for Comics Camp. Actually, this now says welcome to Comics Camp. This is changing as we go, but I'm sending them out to families. If you're already in Comics Camp, you know all this stuff, but I'd love it if you could share it with your friends, show them what we're doing. And also, best of all, in the welcome pack, I'm actually sending these to you. Now, this might look a little confusing. Let me show you this one, actually, the pink one. There it is. You'll get a little packet of these pages. Now, these are the printables that I'm posting on the Clubhouse. I just wanted to show you this, and I'll post a really clear video of this that I'm working on today. This is a double book printable. If you print this from my website, it's going to come out on 8.5 by 11 like this. It's actually, see how this is the same as this? It's actually 2 books on 1 page. So what you'll have to do, I'll show you this. I always show this multiple times in my classes. So I'm going to show you this multiple times in these live draws, just so you've seen it. You'll have to cut this page in half. And you should have, if you cut right on that line there, you should have 2 identical, yep, see these pages are all the same. They're identical books, but it's not a book yet. Let me clear this aside and find my directions. So I'm also sending everybody these directions in the mail. And what this shows you is how to fold this. So what you're holding here in this mini is an 8-page book. And then this is what we're looking at right here. So what you want to keep your eye on is the front cover. And I'll post a video that shows how to do this. I'm going to show you quickly now so you've seen it once. And this folding pattern here, if you follow these directions, you're going to end up folding this in a certain way, like that. I'm going to keep my eye on that front cover always. So you can always see your front cover. Fold it once, twice, 3 times. There we go. See how that became a tiny little mini book? How to draw your very own eyeball army, right? Then we'll open it back up. My directions show me, I open it up, I fold it in half that way, and I'm going to make a cut with the scissors. Open it all the way up. I'll fold it in half that way. And you can, when I post the video for this, you can slow it down, pause it when you need to. The cut with the scissors goes halfway across. See that? Then when I open it up, I have this strange hole in the center of the paper, right? So the trick, I'll show you this in slow motion on the video, is to take these 2 tents between my fingers, open them up, the chicken beak opening, and then see how that makes an X. I'll bring 3 arms of the X together and a 4th around, and it actually makes a little 8-page book that you can flip through, and it shows you basically what I just showed you in this live draw, only a little differently. This is called Make Your Own Eyeball Army because, well, I explained in the Patreon post why these eyeballs ended up being little Civil War style soldiers. It has to do with the model that my niece and nephew were using, which was my own Civil War comics. They were drawing basically stick figure Civil War comics as simple eyeballs. And they ended up teaching me how to draw all these different eyeball characters we just drew. So this is coming in the mail if you're on the Patreon. I'm sending these out today and this past weekend. So you'll get that page. That's an 8.5 by 11 page. You cut it in half. You can follow my printed directions or my video directions, zip, zap, zoop, as slowly as you need to, right? And it'll make a little 8-page book that you can share around with people. And you can try some of these techniques of eyeballs. And there's a bunch of other comics that I'm sending in that mailing. So I just wanted to show you that. That's coming out. Also, for some of the patrons, I am actually sending out the Civil War Diary of Freeman Colby, Volume 1, as part of the welcome packet if you're at the graphic novel level. Let's see, what else did I have to say? I had a couple announcements. Oh yeah, I'll do some live inking on Facebook over the course of this week in between our live draws. Where's our card about the live draws? Oh, I put it out here. Shuffle, shuffle. Well, we've got live draws coming up. We have Monday live draw. We'll have a Wednesday live draw and a Friday live draw. Check the Patreon page. And what else did I have? We're working on a goal on the Patreon. Once we get a few more signups, we'll be able to multi-stream on YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So along those lines, make sure you share your pie. Once you have penciled, inked, and erased a page of artwork, take a little snapshot of it on your desk and share it to your social media account, right? If you @ me and if you tag it Comics Camps 2020, Comics Camp 2020, I should be able to see it, and then I can share it with other comics campers. It's wonderful to see the amazing artwork people were posting last week, and that's a really important part of Comics Camp, just seeing each other's artwork, giving each other feedback, and just encouraging each other to keep drawing all summer long. It's going to be a really busy summer. This is a good start. We have some crazy characters here. Let's see what you do with this. Keep an eye on, if you want to keep working, you can take another page and either trace over and change your characters and show the next step in the story, or you can place this page alongside, continue your landscape lines, and keep creating new eyeball characters. We'll see what we come up with this week. I will see you folks out there. Wonderful to draw with you. This is going to be amazing, this Comics Camp summer. There's a lot we can do online. I'll post some announcements on my site and over at the Patreon. Everybody be safe. Have a great comics-full couple days, and I will see you on Wednesday, if not before. Signing off, Merrick Bennett over at Comics Camp headquarters. See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.